الموتور. السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك، عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. يا أبا عبد الله، لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام، وجلت وعظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات. فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت، ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وأزالتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها، ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم، ولعن الله الممهدين لهم بالتمكين من قتالكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشياعهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم. يا أبا عبد الله، إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلى يوم القيامة. ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان، ولعن الله بني أمية قاطبة، ولعن الله ابن مرجانة، ولعن الله عمر بن سعد، ولعن الله شمرا، ولعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتنقبت لقتالك بأبي أنت وأمي. لقد عظم مصابي بك، فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب ثارك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله، إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بموالاتك وبالبراءة ممن قاتلك ونصب لك الحار، وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس الظلم والجور عليكم. وأبرأ إلى الله وإلى رسوله ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانا وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشياعكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم، وأتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم، والبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحار، وبالبراءة من أشياعهم وأتباعهم. إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم، وولي لمن والاكم، وعدو لمن عاداكم. فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة، وأن يثبت لي عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة، وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله، وأن يرزقني طلب ثاري مع إمام هدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم، وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا بمصيبتي، مصيبة ما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض. اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة. اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد، ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية، وابن آكلة الأكباد اللعين بن اللعين، على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله في كل موطن وموقف وقف فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم لعن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية، عليهم منك اللعنة أبد الآبدين. وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فضاعف عليهم اللعن منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني، وابدأ به أولا ثم الثاني والثالث والرابع. اللهم لعن يزيد خامسا، والعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجانة وعمر بن سعد وشمرا وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. سجود. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابه، الحمد لله على عظيم رزيتي. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود، وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Thank you to Brother Mustafa Al-Ali for that amazing recitation. If I can get all the brothers to come as far forward as possible, just before I invite Brother Mustafa to continue. And now inshallah invite Brother Mustafa to recite the Holy Quran. Please welcome him with the loudest of your salawat. Salam Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ما كان على النبي من حرج فيما فرض الله له. سنة الله في الذين خلوا من قبل. سنة الله في الذين خلوا من قبل وكان أمر الله قدرا مقدورا. الذين يبلغون رسالات الله ويخشونه ولا يخشون يخشون أحدا إلا الله وكفى بالله حسيبا. ما كان محمد أبا أحد من رجالكم ولكن رسول الله وخاتم النبيين وكان الله بكل شيء عليما. الذين يبلغون رسالات الله ويخشونه ولا يخشون أحدا إلا الله وكفى بالله حسيبا. ما كان محمد أبا أحد من رجالكم ولكن رسول الله وخاتم النبيين وكان الله بكل شيء عليما. ما كان محمد أبا أحد من رجالكم ولكن رسول الله وخاتم النبيين وكان الله بكل شيء عليما. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اذكروا الله ذكرا كثيرا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اذكروا الله ذكرا كثيرا وسبحوه بكرة وأصيلا. هو الذي يصلي عليكم وملائكته ليخرجكم من الظلمات إلى النور. وكان بالمؤمنين رحيما. تحيتهم يوم يلقونه سلام. تحيتهم يوم يلقونه سلام وأعد لهم أجرا كريما. يا أيها النبي يا أيها النبي يا أيها النبي إنا أرسلناك شاهدا ومبشرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا. يا أيها النبي إنا أرسلناك شاهدا ومبشرا ونذيرا. وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا. وبشر المؤمنين وبشر المؤمنين وبشر المؤمنين بأن لهم من الله فضلا كبيرا ولا تطع الكافرين والمنافقين ودع أذاهم وتوكل على الله وكفى بالله وكيلا ولا تطع الكافرين والمنافقين ودع أذاهم وتوكل على الله وكفى بالله وكيلا صدق الله العلي العظيم أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I start in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Praise be to Allah, the creator of the heavens, and the earth, the all-knowing, the all-wise, the one who has created boundless beauty and wisdom that surrounds us, the Almighty, the Supreme Being who encompasses all that exists. Salawat. Dear respected brothers and sisters, elders in the community, Assalamu alaikum. We at Mohebban al-Mahdi Youth Foundation welcome you to day 6 of our Muharram Majalis with the esteemed Sheikh Abbas Panju. As it is 5th of Muharram today for us, 6th day of the Majalis, but 5th of Muharram. I send my condolences to the Imam of our time on the tragedy of Karbala and pray that Allah accepts the hajats of all the brothers and sisters attending and all those around the world. A kind request for a Surah Fatiha for all those that are sponsoring the Majalis and for the marhumeen of all those that are attending as well. I start by thanking Brother Mustafa Al-Ali for his amazing recitation of the Holy Quran. Inshallah, he can continue to bless us year after year and bless with the Holy Quran all around the world. Inshallah, today we have Brother Ammar Al-Nashid joining us as well, so he will be part of the Matam. So please do stay around, and for the English Matam today as well, as Brother Ammar Al-Nashid would be here. Just a couple of announcements before I announce Brother Muhammad Abbas Kareem. Just the same housekeeping rules that we have, and we have to say for health and safety reasons. There's 2 fire exits, one at the back and one just behind this screen here. And the assembly point is in the car park And inshallah, as always, if we can use the back entrance rather than the main entrance of the school, and just try and keep things as safe as possible so that the majalis of Imam Hussein can run smoothly. I now invite Brother Muhammad Abbas Kareem for recitation. Please welcome him with the loudest of your salawats ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
جناب زینب کے حوالے سے سلام کے چند اشعار آپ کی سماعتوں کے نظر پیش خدمت ہیں. بر محمد و آل محمد بلند تر صلوات. I'm sure we can have a louder salawat than that. Bar Muhammad wa ale Muhammad buland tar salawat. Ahsan. دختر شاہ دختر شاہ لافتہ زینب دختر شاہ لافتہ زینب اپنی منزل کی فاطمہ زینب کون سمجھے گا تجھ کو کیا زینب کون سمجھے گا تجھ کو کیا زینب تجھ پہ شبیر تھے فدا زینب یہ تھا بس تیرا حوصلہ زینب یہ تھا بس تیرا حوصلہ زینب تجھ سے زندہ ہے کربلا زینب تجھ سے زندہ ہے کربلا زینب فاتح جنگ کربلا شبیر فاتح جنگ کربلا شبیر فاتح جنگ ہر بلا زینب اور تو تھی دنیا میں ثانیہ زہرا تو تھی دنیا میں ثانیہ زہرا تیرا ثانی نہ ہو سکا زینب دختر شاہ لافتہ زینب بر محمد و آل محمد بلند تر صلوات. شبیر کا تم صدقہ ہو اب خیمے میں بیٹا تم لوٹ کر نانا اے اون محمد، اے اون محمد، مل کے پڑھیں، اے اون محمد، اے اون محمد، بلند آواز میں، اے اون محمد، اے اون، ہے ماں کو یقین تم ماں کی بات رکھو گے، یہ یاد رہے خیموں میں ہے پیاسے بچے، دریا پہ اگر جانا ہو سحروز کے پیاسو، تم پیاس نہ بجھانا، اے اون محمد، اے اون محمد، اے اون، اے اون محمد، ہر حال پہ تم پر لازم ہے شکر خدا کا، اے شہزادوں ہے صبر تمہارا ورثہ، فرزند ہو تم زینب کے شکوہ نہیں کرنا، جب زخم کوئی کھانا، اے اون محمد، اے اون محمد، ہائے اے اون محمد، اے اون محمد، کب ہم پہ ستم کرنے کے لیے آئے ہیں، یہ بدروحد کے بدلے کے لیے آئے ہیں، لازم ہے رجز سے پہلے میدان میں تم بھی مدح علی سنانا، اے اون محمد، اے اون محمد، جب سانس تمہاری بچوں ہو کھڑنے والی، اس وقت سرہانے آئے گی مادر میری، دل کی یہ میری خواہش ہے اس دم میری ماں سے، زخموں کو تم چھپانا، اے اون محمد، اے اون محمد، اے اون محمد، اے اون محمد، جب لاشیں اٹھا کر خیمے میں لائے سرور، زینب 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 یہ بولی اشکوں کو اپنے چھپا کر، میں بھی نہ تمہیں روں گی اور میرے لیے بھی آنسو نہ تم بہانا، اے اون محمد، اے اون محمد، ہائے اے اون محمد، اے اون محمد، تعظیم کی خاطر क्यों उठते नहीं अब बेटा, देखो तो सिरहाने आए हैं मेरे भैया, जागो मेरे शहजादों, क्या भूल गए हो कदमों पे सर झुकाना, ऐ ओनो मोहम्मद, ऐ ओनो मोहम्मद, है ऐ ओनो मोहम्मद, ऐ ओनो मोहम्मद। बराए ताजील ज़हूर इमाम ज़माना बाज़ बुलंद सलावत।
Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Thank you to Brother Muhammad Abbas Kareem for that amazing recitation. Before I continue, can I please ask all the brothers to please stand up and come as far forward to your right, to my left as possible, just so that we can reduce the amount of interruptions that happen. Please recite a loud salawat and come as far forward as possible. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Please use all the space on either side of the stage. As you have been seeing, it gets really, really busy. So please come as far forward as you can. Leave as little space in between you. And for anyone that is on the chairs, if it is possible for you to sit on the floor, just because we are a little bit short on chairs, and sometimes as the elders come later on in the majalis, it can cause a bit of a disruption. So if you can sit on the floor, please do so, inshallah. Going forward, as we have been doing, the majalis will continue to start at bang on 7 p.m. This is only because namaz time is coming further and further back. So we want to give it enough time for the program so that all that is planned can happen and everyone can recite for the right amount of time. So we would really appreciate if you can come at 7 p.m. every day. Inshallah, we start with Ziyarat Ashura with a very talented brother, Mustafa Al-Ali. So if you come at 7, inshallah, we can start the program on time every night. Just a bit of a schedule for the rest of the nights. So inshallah, tonight we will be commemorating Hazrat Ona Muhammad. And then tomorrow night, which is the 6th of Muharram, we will be commemorating the Shahadat of Hazrat Qasim. And then on the 7th of Muharram, it will be Hazrat Ali Asghar. 8th of Muharram will be Hazrat Abbas. 9th of Muharram will be Hazrat Ali Akbar. And then the day of Ashura will be Saturday, inshallah. So that's the little schedule for the rest of the nights. Just thank you to the Al-Naba school. As I have been saying every night, that there are children majalis that start at 7 p.m. and they continue throughout the duration of the majalis. So I just wanted to give a little thank you to the Al-Naba school. They are the ones that are running these classes and they are doing a phenomenal job. Without them, you know, there might be a lot more noise here, but now that the majalis is going on here and simultaneously there as well, it's both sets of people are gaining a lot from it. So all I can do is thank the Al-Naba school, and I would really appreciate if we all read a very, very loud salawat for all those that are volunteering with Al-Naba school. Just in terms of car parking, as I have been announcing for the past couple of nights, there's very designated spots where you can park your car, and there's a lot of areas outside of the school and some areas inside the school where you cannot park your cars. Please, can we ensure there are brothers outside that will tell you where and where not to park? Please do listen to them and appreciate what they are saying. They're only trying to help you. They're only trying to make sure that this majalis of Imam Hussein can continue and run smoothly. So if they do tell you that there's certain places where you can park or where you can't park, then please do listen to them, just so we can ensure that we're running smoothly, we don't have to interrupt the lecture constantly, and that inshallah we can allow the Sheikh to continue and give us all his knowledge. Loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Just as I've been mentioning in the other nights, there are books outside available. Alhamdulillah, most of them got sold out, but we have restocked up. They are books that have been written and translated by Sheikh Abbas Raza. The books are as follows: The Life of the Sincere Companion Abu Dhar al-Ghaffari, The Life of the Third Martyr Ghazi Nurullah, Al-Muqibun, the first book ever discussing the bloodline of Amir al-Mu'mineen, and it's the first book to ever mention the name of the martyrs in Karbala from the Bani Hashim. There's also Bab Hadi Ashar, which is a book on the principled beliefs of the Shia school of thought, and is something that is still taught within the Hawza today. And finally, there's Tafsir of the Holy Quran, which is the first of an intended 3 volumes. So if you are interested in any of these books, or would like to just ask questions, would like to buy them, would like to have a read of them, they are all available on the stall outside. So inshallah you can benefit from that. Please recite aloud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. A second salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And just finally, before I invite the Sheikh, just a last little thing that we have been speaking about: donations, about the volunteers. We are always looking for more volunteers. As you know, Mohebban al-Mahdi Youth Foundation is a volunteer-run organization. So if you do want to volunteer for these majalis, there's these Muharram majalis that Mohebban conduct, but then there's also majalis throughout the year that Mohebban try doing as well, including Fatimiyya majalis and most shahadats and wiladats throughout the year. If you would like to volunteer in different ways, whether it's through the social media or whether there's any other way that you think you can help in, please do so. There's volunteers outside with the green armbands. Please stop one of them. You can sign up to become a volunteer, and inshallah continue this message of Abu Abdullah and continue this pathway. So if there is any way that you do want to volunteer or help out, then please do so. And inshallah, in terms of donations, we are still in need of your help. It does cost quite a bit of money to it costs quite a bit of money to run these type of events, and we can only do it with your support. So please, there are brothers and sisters stood outside. So if you can help in any way, whether it's even £1 a day, £2 a day, £3 a day, please do so. Because alhamdulillah, the crowd is 800-900 people that are attending. So even £1 each is £900 a day, £1,000 a day, which will go a long way towards helping us fund for these majalis. So please, if everyone just even slightly helps us, it will help us towards it. Just ensure that these majalis can continue for the near future, inshallah. Finally, there's the creche facilities. Unfortunately, in the lecture, sometimes it has been getting a little bit too loud. It does cause a little bit of a distraction towards the lecture. Of course, it can distract the people, it can distract the sheikh. So we would really appreciate, we have got the creche facilities through the doors, last classroom. There is a stream in there as well. So you will be able to listen to the lecture, you will be able to listen to everything that's going on in this hall. But we would really appreciate if the children are making a little bit of noise, then please do use the creche facilities, inshallah. Inshallah, now as I invite the sheikh onto the minbar, in respect when we all stand up for him, can I ask all the brothers to come as far forward as possible? Please utilize the stage as well, because over the last couple of nights it's got so busy that there's been a huge crowd outside. The last thing we want to do is constantly stop this majalis and interrupt the sheikh by asking people to move forward. We usually do put a message on the screens if it gets really, really busy and we really need you to push tight to each other. So please do keep a lookout for that. But inshallah, I now invite the sheikh to the minbar So as you stand up for him, recite a loud salawat, and please utilize the stage as well. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
رحم الله من قرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة. بسم الله. رحم الله من قرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله بارئ الخلائق الأجمعين، باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء، حبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ثم الصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين، لا سيما ولي الله الحجة ابن الحسن صاحب الأمر والزمان. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرجه. روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وعلى غاصبي حقوقهم وعلى منكري فضائلهم من الأولين والآخرين إلى قيام يوم الدين. آمين رب العالمين. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة، يا غريب الغرباء، يا مظلوم كربلاء، السلام على من جعل الله الشفاء في تربته. السلام على من الإجابة تحت قبته السلام على ساكن كربلاء فيا ليتنا ثم يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي يا سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما أما بعد قال الله تعالى في محكم كتابه الحكيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار لآيات لأولي الألباب صدق الله العلي العظيم وآمنا به زينوا مجالسكم بذكر محمد وآل محمد a second of your loudest salawat in honor of Sayyid al-Shuhada. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Ahibba'i, this dunya, the world in which we live, is a marketplace for ideologies. And you find that there are multiple religions in the world. Religions that perhaps emanate from a monotheistic perspective, the father of monotheistic faiths being Nabiullah Ibrahim. And you have other religions, they may not necessarily emanate from a divine Lord or from an appointed prophet. And within all these ideologies that are being put forward in the world, you find that there is a school of thought that identifies itself as being the humanists and the school of thought of humanism. And in a nutshell, they have an organization within the United Kingdom as well, where you find that the humanists or humanism as a school of thought is built upon a certain number of foundational principles. So you will see, for example, that this school of thought advocates the fact that there is no creator and there is no afterlife. There is absolutely no God. Number two, they also advocate the fact that we human beings are a product, a biological, physical, we are a product of a physical and a biological process that is purposeless. Number two. Number three, they also advocate the theory that the human being is intrinsically equipped with moral code of conduct. The human being is born with a certain set of moral conduct. Every human being that is born, intrinsically within him or within her, knows that, for example, to steal is bad, to share is good, being polite is commendable. For example, being rude is bad. There are certain values, ethical values that are embedded within us. And because the human being possesses a moral code, an ethical code within him, the human being is not in need of an external source, be it God or be it prophets, to come and to tell you or to give you this moral code of conduct. These, together with many other principles, found the core of the school of humanism. For the purpose of our majlis tonight, we would like to explore this school of thought and see how it contradicts the teachings that are put forward within the Quran and the school of Ahlul Bayt. And I would like to begin this majlis by presenting the conclusion first, as opposed to presenting the conclusion last. We shall present the conclusion at the beginning of the majlis and then present the proofs through which this conclusion is formulated. You find that if you were to analyze this school of thought of humanity and humanism, and this is a big issue, because from this school of thought you come across people who say, yes, it's not important to have a religion. It's not important to believe in Allah. It's not important to believe in the prophets and the Anbiya. As long as I am a good person, it's more than enough. As long as I don't harm anybody, as long as I don't steal from anybody, even if I don't pray, even if I don't perform Hajj, even if I don't adhere by the rules of Tahara and Najasa, doesn't really matter. The most important thing is that I am a good human being. And it affects a number of our youth, and a number, not even the youth, the general masses. And you will find Bain al-Qawsayn, before I jump into the main topic or delve into the main topic, between brackets, this ideology over here, this root ideology, oh, I don't need to believe in Allah and I don't need to believe in a furu'ud-din as long as I'm a good person. You find that it has trickled down sometimes even within the circles of the Shia Athna Ashari, who are proper lovers of Ahlul Bayt and Matamis. You come and you find sometimes within the circle of the Matamis, as long as I love Mawla and I'm a good person, I don't need to do anything else. I don't need to adhere to my furu'ud-din. I don't need to gain knowledge. I don't need to do anything else in regards to wajib, haram, makruh, mustahab. Nothing doing. As long as I'm a good person and I love Mawla, that's it. The people, unfortunately, fall prey and become victim to a school of thought whose roots actually come from the roots of humanism. And as you will see within the course of the lecture, the roots of humanism are actually kufr in its entirety, but kufr with a new flavor. Kufr ice cream with a few pistachios inside of it. That's your moral code, if you could call it. And shaitan is very, very creative in the way that he misguides people. For Matamis, be careful that you do not fall into the trap and your love for Ahlul Bayt is not used by shaitan such that you end up disobeying that same Ahlul Bayt that you claim to love. And this is a lesson for everybody generally. In any case, if we were to begin our discussion in regards to humanism, and you look at one of the principles that they put forward is that this earth or this universe has no creator. Meaning that everything that we have inside of the universe was created by chance. And they come forward and they say that it is created by chance because of either evolution or the Big Bang Theory, where you had this random explosion, and through the random explosion this entire universe came into existence and is being maintained as we see it today. We counter this type of school of thought, and we counter this sort of logic using the Quran. For if you were to refer back to Surah Al Imran, you find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it very clear when He states, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Inna fi khalqis samawati wal ardh wa ikhtilafil layli wan nahar la ayatin li ulil albab. Indeed, within the creation of the heavens and the earth, the sky and the earth, and the system of day and night, there are clear signs for those who are intellectuals, ulil albab, people of the intellect. Again, let me open a bracket and close it. Bain al-Qawsayn, notice how the starting point of a debate or the starting point of a rebuttal within dismantling the school of thought of humanism, we use the Quran. Some person might come and say, well, how can I debate with an atheist or a non-believer using the Quran when they don't believe in the Quran? This is a fallacy, ahibai, because at this point of an argument, within this stage of an argument, we are not concerned in establishing the divine origin of the Quran. What we are interested is in understanding the burhan, the proof and the logic within the Quran. The Quran as a divine revelation, book of revelation, when it comes to issues of our faith in terms of establishing the oneness of God, the existence of a creator, the necessity of prophets, the necessity and the eventuality of an afterlife and the existence of a successor to the prophet, the Quran speaks in the language of logic. The Quran speaks a language that appeals to the intellect. So when I refer back to the Quran, I should not be concerned what the source of the origin of the Quran is for the point of, or for the purpose of this debate or argument. I should be concerned with the content and the veracity of the proof within the content. This is an important thing or important lesson to keep in mind for those of us who are involved in interfaith or tabligh. For you find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within the Quran says, Surah Ali Imran, إِنَّ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاخْتِلَافِ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ لَآيَاتٍ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. Within the creation of the skies or the heavens and the earth, and in the system of day and night, there are lessons and there are signs for those who are the people of the intellect. And hence the Quran, through this blessed verse, is inviting mankind, number one, to observe the system of creation around us. And upon this observation, or through this observation, the Quran is inviting us towards a mental activity. And that activity is the activity of contemplation. Because by contemplating over the system of creation, a person is able to logically deduce a conclusion that the perfection within this system could not have come into existence by chance. And following in spirit of this verse of the Holy Quran, the tail end of the verse, the second part of the verse, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاخْتِلَافِ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ, in the system of day and night. Truly, if a person was to sit down, and this is not rocket science, the lowest level of intellect is sufficient to deduce the existence of a creator. For if you were to sit and you were to contemplate just on the system of day and night, how is it that this earth rotates around its axis over a period of 24 hours, which then facilitates for day and night? It rotates at a perfect optimal speed. It rotates at a perfect angle. And it rotates within a perfect span of 24 hours. Why is the rotation of the earth not at a further X or Y degrees more or less than what it currently is? Why is it that the earth does not rotate at a faster speed than what it currently rotates? Why is it that this rotation around its axis has to be completed within 24 hours? Why not 18 hours? Why not 17 hours? Why not 26 hours? Is it possible for a system so perfect to come into existence by chance? Rationally, logically speaking, and number two, mathematically speaking, it is an impossibility for such a grand scale of perfection to come into existence through a random occurrence. Perfection Mathematically speaking, perfection can never be the result of a series of random occurrences. Mathematically, it's a fallacy, in addition to it being a logical fallacy. Tayyib, we move forward and you have tanazul. Tanazul, sometimes we bow down in the argument. We become a little bit flexible. We say, for argument's sake, let us argue and let us submit to the fact that this world came into existence through this random explosion. Salamna. Let us imagine, for the sake of the argument, we submit to this. Even if this system of perfection, and we are focusing just on the system of day and night, if you were to add every other form of perfection that exists in the universe that we live in, Allahu Akbar, the probability shrinks and shrinks until aslan there is no probability. In any case, even if we submit and we say that this system of day and night and the rotation of the earth around its axis within this perfect speed at a perfect angle within 24 hours is a result of a random explosion, then our question is that if the existence of a system is a result, the existence of a perfect system is a result of a random occurrence, how is it that this perfection within the system is maintained on a daily basis? The system coming into existence randomly is one thing, but the maintenance of perfection from the time that human history figured out and discovered that the earth is rotating around its axis on a 24-hour period, from the time that man has discovered it until today, this rotation within its perfect axis is continuous, meaning that the act of perfection is renewing itself on a daily basis. Who is administering the renewal of the perfection of the system? Why is it that the system doesn't change? The maintenance of a perfect structure. Who maintains this? You cannot tell me, again, mathematically speaking and rationally speaking, the maintenance of an act of perfection multiple times over an extended period of time can occur randomly. It's a mathematical impossibility. I give you a very simple example. You take dice, pair of dice. What is the mathematical probability of you rolling a double 4 10 times in one day, 10 continuous times, 10 double 4s in a row? What's the mathematical possibility or probability of doing this? And then try the probability of rolling a double 4 every day for 1 week, every day for 365 years, 10 times in a row. What is the mathematical probability of this happening? Zero. A person would have to be majnoon, would have to be insane. In fact, an insane person looks sane in front of somebody who would believe that such a function can actually occur and maintain itself randomly. And it is from here, ahibai, you notice that if you were to contemplate within the teachings of the Quran, you are able to very easily dismiss the notion that this earth and this universe and everything within the realm of existence has come into existence randomly. You find that the humanist school of thought propagate, and they are very staunch, they are very adamant in their core principles when they state that humanism as a school of thought is a school that takes pride. It is based on critical thinking, logic, and empirical evidence. And you can check their website even here inside of the UK. They proudly say that as a school of thought, they are based on critical thinking. Well, every aspect of critical thinking is demolished if you subscribe to a school of thought that slightly even tends to suggest that this earth came into existence by chance and the maintenance of a system of perfection can happen randomly. This is one. Number two, this school of thought of humanists come forward and they say that we are the process of a physical, we are the product of a physical and a biological process that has no purpose. Life on this earth is purposeless. Again, if we were to come back to the Quran, you find that, in fact, before I go into this point, let me just clarify one more point. A person may come back again in this issue of random creation or creation by the supreme being. A person may come forward and say, okay, Shaykhuna, we agree that, do you know what, the earth was not created by random explosion, rather the Big Bang was a controlled explosion, and everything within the universe is being maintained in a perfect balance and system due to Mother Nature. These arguments, Ahibai, are not new arguments. These are not issues or concerns that we face in the 21st century. And these are not issues that were brought in the 15th, 16th century philosophers. These were issues that existed, these sorts of concerns and objections, using Mother Nature as an explanation to the reason of creation of this universe existed even during the times of the Imams and the Prophets. If you were to refer back to a treatise which is known as Tawheed al-Mufaddal. Tawheed al-Mufaddal is a treatise that was written by one of the companions of the sixth Imam by the name Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad. But on tradition, this treatise was written by a companion named Mufaddal ibn Umar, where he narrates from Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad as-Sadiq, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. Mufaddal ibn Umar transcribes a conversation in regards to Tawheed that he has with Imam as-Sadiq. And you find that this treatise was then authored, transcribed, and is also available and translated into English, if I'm not mistaken. You'll be able to find PDF copies of this on the internet. And I say to you, Shabab, understand Tawheed through the words of Imam as-Sadiq. Texts such as Tawheed al-Mufaddal are texts that need to be studied inside of the house, inside of our madrasas. Texts such as Tawheed al-Mufaddal need to be propagated and distributed within our scientific institutions. Within Tawheed al-Mufaddal, as Imam Sadiq Ruhi Lahul Fida is speaking to Mufaddal ibn Umar in regards to Tawheed and establishing the necessity of the existence of one God, Mufaddal ibn Umar says, Yabna Rasulillah, there are people within the community, and this is at that time, he says there are people in the community who actually state that the perfection in creation is not Allah, it's Mother Nature. How do we answer back to them? Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam says to Mufaddal, ask them, this Mother Nature, who is Mother Nature? What is Mother Nature, Aslan? Define for me Mother Nature. Is Mother Nature an entity that has free will? Is Mother Nature an entity that is all powerful? Is Mother Nature an entity that has absolute domain over everything that happens within the universe? If they say yes, then what stops them from believing that there is an entity who is all powerful and has domain over all existence and has put into a place of perfection within the system of existence? If you can believe Mother Nature can do all this and has these sifat, by the way, which are the sifat of Allah Azza wa Jal. If you can believe in that, why can you not believe in this? And if you believe that Mother Nature has no free will, is not an entity that actively, independently manages perfection within creation, then that means Mother Nature is a system which is a product of somebody else's creation, because even this Mother Nature has to come into existence. Either way, the answer takes you back to the existence of a master architect, and that is the creator of the universe. Having said this, we come to our second point. They come and they say that the human being is absolutely purposeless. We are born as humans, we are born, or we are the products of a physical and a biological process that absolutely has no purpose. Again, we say to them that as humanists who claim that they are a school built on critical thinking, this sort of argument is a conclusion, a false conclusion derived from a number of invalid premises and suppositions, as a result of which the conclusion in itself is invalid. When a person comes and says from within the educational field or the faculty of philosophy that the human being is created purposeless, we say that in actuality, everything you say is contradictory. And again, within this, the proof is within the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addressed these issues from the time of Rasulullah. Within Surah Al-Mu'minun, you find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَفَحَسِبْتُمْ, do you think that we have created everything within the realm of existence, abatha, that we have created it in vain without any purpose? And again, if you were to engage the faculty of your intellect, you would see that everything within this universe serves a purpose. Even the smallest thing that you may consider as being insignificant plays a vital role in this universe. Take, for example, a leaf. Leaf. I don't mean the palm leaf, maybe a palm leaf as well, but my example is the leaf, the normal leaf that grows on the tree. Take a leaf. The existence and the creation of a leaf within the universe and the system of nature. Look at how marvelous the leaf is. This leaf, which is insignificant to you and I, is actually a world of a universe within itself. It has a system. The leaf is responsible to absorb sunlight and then to be able to create nourishment for the plant or the tree that it grows from through the system of photosynthesis. And there is this, if you could use this word, and excuse me, I'm just layman's language, but there is this entire transportation network of how water from the very depth of the roots is sent all the way down to the leaf. And then the water breaks up the particles and the carbon is separated. And the leaf has the ability to absorb carbon dioxide from the air, such that scientists today are saying that 30% of the climate change issues that we are facing in the world could be solved through the planting and the preservation of more and more trees and forest areas. If a single leaf is not purposeless, how can existence in its entirety and the universe in its entirety be purposeless? It's a contradiction. And then we say to these humanists that in essence you are contradicting yourself, because the humanists say it is part of their protocol or part of their mission statement that as humanists we find, or as humanists we come together to make the world a better place, because they are under the assumption that majority of the fracas that happens in dunya, majority of the violence and bloodshed that happens in the world is due to ideology. So they say we want to cut out of this ideology, and we as humanists, we seek to make the world a better place through our morals and our etiquettes. Subhanallah. Enter as a humanist How can you claim to seek and find a purpose in life when you established an entire school of thought? Because inside of you, you know that you need a purpose. Yet on the other hand, you say that the entire existence and nature is without purpose. It's a logical fallacy that if you're a product of purposelessness and living in a system, in a universe without a purpose, within this system of non-purposeness, you come and create a purpose. It's an fallacy. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. A second of your loud salawat for Imam Sahib al-Amri wa Zaman. Secondly, we come and we analyze this. We come and we analyze this theory and this notion that is put forward in regards to ethics and morality. In the sense that they come and they say to us, the humanists, that the human being and the intellect, the function of the intellect is sufficient to derive a moral code of conduct. All human beings are built with a default set of ethical values. Every human being knows that stealing is bad, sharing is good, for example, generosity is a good thing, for example, oppression is a bad thing, killing is a bad thing. Everybody knows this. And because us human beings have been born with these intrinsical values, a moral code of conduct, it's a part of your default creation, you really don't need a religion. You don't need an external source to come and tell you that this is right and this is wrong through halal or haram, for example. You don't need this. So there is no need for prophets to be sent by Allah to guide mankind towards good values. And with this, they counter what we believe in the school of Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in regards to Rasulullah, He says, مَا بُئِثْتُ إِلَّا لِأُتَمِّمُ مَكَارِمُ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I was not sent to you except to perfect your morals. So there is a contradiction over here. Rasulullah is saying that a divine part of Nabuwwat, an important message of all the Anbiya, was to raise the level of akhlaq, morality, and a code of ethics for the human beings. And over here, the atheist or this humanist school of thought come and say, "La, you don't need anyone to come and tell you. Just inside of you, it's common sense to steal is bad." And hence they negate religion altogether. How do we respond to this sort of an argument? The answer towards this, there are a number of dimensions, and I know our time is short today, so I'm going to try and summarize this argument and inshallah present to you what I think, in my humble opinion, is perhaps the most satisfactory and convincing argument. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Tayyib. See, human beings, correct, without a shadow of a doubt, possess within them a faculty through which they are able to recognize that certain actions are good and that certain actions are bad. And this is something that is warranted within the Shia literature as well, which is why when you study principles of advanced principles of jurisprudence, you come across chapters such as Siratul Uqala, the Hujjiyat of Siratul Uqala, the path and the behaviors or the global values adapted by the intellectuals as being a hujjah, as being a binding proof. And similarly within the principles of Usulul Fiqh, we have chapters where we speak about Mustaqillat al-Aqliya. Mustaqillat al-Aqliya is the function, the scope and the parameters of the intellect when it comes to deriving a hukum shara'i. Yes, these are chapters that are mentioned and are studied within our literature without a shadow of a doubt. However, what we do say is that even though the intellect has the capacity to deduce by itself and recognize actions being good or actions being bad, and the intellect has the ability to embrace and to understand and possess a moral code of conduct. However, the intellect is still in need of an external source that allows you to define the parameters of the traits that make up this moral conduct or this ethical code. How? I give you an example. From the words of Maulana Amirul Mu'mineen Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. Everything in terms of our traits, akhlaq, behaviors, has boundaries and has parameters. Such that Amirul Mu'mineen says, for example, courage. Courage as a trait within the ethical or moral code. Courage is something good or something bad? Anybody who would disagree that courage is not good? No, courage is good. The intellect understands this without doubt. However, courage as a good, commendable, ethical trait has a parameter and has boundaries. Amirul Mu'mineen tells us courage has boundaries. If you were to cross this boundary on one spectrum, excess courage, when it surpasses this boundary, courage turns into being violence and despotic. And on the other hand, if you cross the boundaries of courage in that you have too little on the other spectrum, it becomes cowardice. Courage as a trait needs to be balanced. Courage, or a person being courageous, has boundaries such that if he's within his boundaries, then the trait of courageousness is applicable on him. Similarly, when it comes to generosity, generosity within the ethical code of conduct is something that is praiseworthy, is akhlaq, is something that is good. No two people are going to dispute about this. Atheist or non-atheist, theist or atheist, sahil or la. However, when you come back to the words of Amirul Mu'mineen, he says, yes, generosity is a praiseworthy trait. However, generosity has boundaries. Generosity has limits. Generosity has parameters. If you cross the parameters of generosity on one side, you enter into the world of asraf and extravagance. And on the other hand, if you do not cross the boundaries of generosity, you will fall into the pits of miserliness. So how do you draw these boundaries? How do you draw the boundaries between miserliness and extravagance, such that you get to this middle ground that is known as generosity, which each and every one of us as a value system say is something commendable? Who denotes this? Who defines the parameters of these traits? And if you were to deep down, if you were to dive even deeper, you would find that everything within an ethical and a moral code is subject to this sort of parameter and definition. Who decides this? We are of the opinion that this is decided by a divine entity, a divine law, a Lord of the universe who puts forward for us an ethical code of conduct that is free of any prejudice. Because if you say, well, the human being can decide for himself what the parameters of an ethical code are, that in essence means that ethics and morality is something that is relative. What is generous for you could be miserly towards me, and what is generous towards him is going to be extravagant towards him. And what you have done is you have created an entire code of morality which is relative to each person's interpretation. And if you have 6 billion thinking people, you have 6 billion understandings of what generosity is or what violence is. What you have done is you have created a universe of absolute chaos. What is good to you may not be good to me. And therefore, we say that it is impossible for an ethical code when it comes to implementation to be formulated by the human mind, because the human mind is not free of prejudice. The human mind is not free of corruption to design and to designate boundaries towards certain traits as per their liking. You need to have this unprejudiced, non-biased, divine, perfect law that emanates from a creator. Furthermore, if you take the argument, the application of moral traits in this day and age is also a place of great ishkal. You look at certain moral traits, you find that its application within a context which is complicated from the world of politics and economics, meaning that the human being doesn't operate in a vacuum. The human being operates within the context of an environment that is dictated by economic circumstances, social circumstances, political circumstances. Within these environments, how do you implement a moral code of conduct without an external source of guidance? You find that the world in which we live, particularly the world of politics and economics, is plagued by this. Today, you have the issue of food, dumping of food. On one hand, the economists are of the opinion that, and on the assumption, this is an assumption, on the assumption that we are removing the private interest of the corporations. Take them and put them on the side. The issue of food dumping, whereby the economists will state that, for example, if the market is flooded with mangoes, you got to dump the mangoes in the ocean to make sure that the prices of mango doesn't dip in the market. When surplus or supply is greater than demand, then according to the rules of current day economics, the price drops. So the economists come forward and they say, if the price drops, we got to reduce the supply in the market, and hence there's the practice of food dumping. And they say that the justification behind it is that we got to preserve and we got to protect the best interest of our farmers. So on one hand, a noble ethical trait is to protect the interest of the farmers. But on the other hand, through food dumping, I also understand that there is starvation on this earth and people in their millions are dying without a morsel of food. Do I protect the interest of those who are starving, or do I protect the interest of the farmers? On the assumption that there is no cooperation or greed in the equation. An equation for an equation. Both of these are moral traits. Protecting the interests of the farmers is noble. Protecting the interests of those who are at starvation is also noble. Who do you put forward? Until and unless you have a divine, unbiased, non-prejudiced system of ethics, you end up performing dhulm and oppression. Same thing when it comes to sweatshops. Have a look at some of the biggest brands, and you find these type of discussions are prevalent within the university. You have all these big brands and all these companies that open up sweatshops in Vietnam and open sweatshops in Bangladesh. And you find on one hand you have got a moral code, people who subscribe to a certain moral code and will say, Yabe, it is dhulm and oppression. You cannot employ people at 80 cents a day to manufacture, for example, an X-branded t-shirt or a pair of sneakers that sell for 100 quid, and you are getting people to work at 80 cents an hour. This is unfair. On the other hand, you have people who will sit at a different spectrum of the moral code and they'll say, you know what, 80 cents is better than 0 cents, better than being unemployed. At least they are earning something, and that 80 cents is sufficient for them to live their life. Each one has a relative moral code. In this issue, who decides what is right and what is wrong? The existence, it necessitates these issues that we live in itself is a proof of the necessity of the existence of a moral code of conduct that emanates from an external source, and in our case from the creator of the universe through the prophets. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And there is much to say in regards to this topic, and it is important for each and every one of us to be well versed in these arguments and to be able to represent our faith eloquently and study these arguments and ensure that we don't fall into the traps of shaitan and kufr from areas that we do not know. Karbala, Ahibai. That, for example, if the market is in the ocean, Ardu Karbin wa Bala, the lands of trial and the land of tribulation. Karbala, the land of tears. Karbala, the land of ishq. Karbala, the purpose of our creation. Into Matamis as we get closer and closer to Ashura. Live the tragedy of Imam al-Hussein on a daily basis. Do not restrict the Azadari to be for the time of this majlis. Live the tragedy. Live the pain of Karbala on a daily basis. Take your souls and your hearts to Karbala. Tonight, we are gathered here to commemorate the martyrdom of two heroes, Sayyid Aoun and Sayyid Muhammad. And tonight you were here to pay tribute to Aqilat Bani Hashim, Sayyida Zainab al-Kubra alayha salam. Sayyida Zainab, one of the titles of Sayyida Zainab is Ummul Masa'ib. Sayyida Zainab, from the early days of her life, witnessed nothing but oppression, hardship, and tribulation. Historians mention at the tender age of 5, she witnessed the poisoning of her grandfather Rasulullah. And she sees how the Ummah usurps the rights of her father Amirul Mu'mineen. Allah. It is this Sayyida Zainab at the age of 5. She is inside the house whilst the people of Saqifa come and surround the house of her mother Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra with firewood. Do you know the narrations mention that when Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra was being attacked, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, Sayyida Zainab and Sayyida Kulthum were inside of the house. The narrations mention that as the door was burning and the shayateen of Saqifa entered inside the house of Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra, they crushed Sayyida Zahra between the door and the wall. Sayyida Zahra falls down to the ground and she cries, Abata ya Rasulallah, Allah. Do you know the historians mention that when she was crushed between the door and the wall, Salman says that there was a nail that was protruding from the door. When Zahra got crushed between the door and the wall, this nail punctured the lungs of Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra. She fell down to the ground. The narrations mention, historians mention that Umar himself says that when I kicked open the door and Sayyida Fatima Fatima al-Zahra was behind. He says, when I heard the cry of Fatima, there was so much pain in the cry of Fatima. He says, I was about to turn around. He says, and then I remembered my hatred for Ali ibn Abi Talib and what he did on the days of Badr and Uhud and on the days of Badr and Uhud and Ahzab. He says, out of my rage and my hatred for Amirul Mu'mineen, I turned around and I kicked Fatima with all my strength on her stomach. She cried out, Wa Muhsina! Allah, Allah. Do you know while this was happening, Sayyida Zainab alayhi salam is standing at the side of the house, inside the house. The narration mentions she's a 5-year-old child. She holds the hand of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba. She says, my brother Hassan, why are they hitting our mother Fatima? Why are they hitting our mother Fatima? Allah. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam says that Fatima was choking. She was choking because of the thickness of the smoke from the burning door. Allah. Ya Zainab, in the way that your mother's door is being burnt, they're going to burn the tents in Shaba Gariban. Zainab, the way you seek protection behind Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, tomorrow the daughters and the children of Hassan and Hussein will seek protection behind you. Zainab, Allah. Today, Masaib, Sayyidah Zainab and Sham pay tribute to this great woman. Do you know Sayyidah Zainab? Sayyidah Zainab was an alima. Sayyidah Zainab had knowledge. Sayyidah Zainab had courage. Sayyidah Zainab had sabr. But Sayyidah Zainab also had a very delicate heart. Sayyidah Zainab had a very tender heart, and every one of the imams took particular care of Zainab because they knew Zainab's heart is very delicate, which is why on the 19th of Shahrul Ramadan, when Amirul Mu'mineen was struck on the head with a sword by Ibn Muljim, the narration mentions that Amirul Mu'mineen was bleeding so profusely, they had to tie a bandage around his head. The strike was so deep, Amirul Mu'mineen was not able to walk by himself. So from Masjid al-Kufa to his house, he was leaning on the shoulders of Imam Hassan and Imam al-Hussein, Muhammad ibn Hanafiya and Abu al-Fadil. He was leaning on their shoulders. They are taking him from Masjid al-Kufa back to his house. But when he reached in front of the house, he says to Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, let me walk by myself. Ajib. Imam Hassan says, oh my father, you have been struck and the wound is absolutely deep. The sword was also poisoned. You are not in a state where you can walk by yourself. Amir al-Mu'mineen was insistent. Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba says, why do you insist to walk? Amir al-Mu'mineen replied back and said, Abba Muhammad, inside of the house is Zainab. Zainab, if Zainab sees me, I am everything for Zainab. If Zainab sees her father Haidar cannot walk, Zainab will die faster than me. Zainab had a very delicate heart. And the same thing, Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, the same thing with Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba. When he was poisoned in his final days, Imam al-Hussein is by his side. Imam Hassan calls for a tasht. The hadith narrates, or the hadith mentioned, Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba is vomiting blood. He's vomiting pieces of inside into the tasht. At that time, Sayyidah Zainab comes into the door. Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba in his deathbed gets up and he says, oh my brother Aba Abdullah, hide the tasht. Imam al-Hussein says, why? Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba says, Zainab, her heart is delicate. She will not be able to. Every one of the imams took care of Zainab. Zainab, Ya Allah, Akilat Bani Hashim. It is this Zainab. It is this Zainab on the day of Ashura, when all the youth of Bani Hashim were going out into battle. The children of Akil, the brothers of Abul Fadl al-Abbas were going into the battlefield. The children of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, each and every one of them becoming shaheed one after the other. It is this delicate Zainab who called On and Muhammad into the tent, and she sits them down. She sits them down and she says to them, On and Muhammad, do you know why you are here on this day of Ashura? Do you know what is your responsibility? On and Muhammad look at their mother, Sayyidah Zainab, and they say to her mother, yes, we are fully aware we are here to sacrifice our lives for the Imam Zaman of our time, Yani Imam al-Hussein. Do you know what Sayyidah Zainab said to them? Allah. Sayyidah Zainab looked at On and Muhammad and she said to them, my two sons, when you go into the battlefield, do not embarrass me. Do not embarrass me in front of my mother Fatima. I don't want Sayyidah Zahra to say, Zainab, you loved your children more than I. Allah. She kissed On and Muhammad on the forehead. On and Muhammad go to Imam al-Hussein. They go and they seek permission to enter into the battlefield. The narration mentions that when On and Muhammad sought permission to go and become shaheed, the gaze of Imam al-Hussein went towards the khaymaga of Zainab. Allah. Zainab is nowhere to be seen. Imam al-Hussein bids farewell to On and Muhammad. The Maktal mentions On and Muhammad went into the battlefield. Both of them were entered into the battlefield like raging lions. These are the grandchildren of Haydar al-Karrar and Jafar al-Tayyar. The narrations mention when On entered into the battlefield, he began to recite poetry brandishing his sword, and he said, In tunkiruni fa'ana ibn Jafar al-Tayyar. Allah, if you do not know me, I am the son of Jafar al-Tayyar, the one who was the truthful martyr, the one who flies in the heavens with wings, the one who was given this rank, and this is enough for me to have sharaf in the mahshar on the day of judgment. At the same time, Muhammad came out with On. He began to recite poetry saying, I shall complain to Allah about this nation and the enmity they showed towards us. They have waged war against Kad nakaru muhkamid Quran wa tabeen wa tanzil. They have come and they have waged war against the teachings and the manifestation of the Quran. The Maktal mentions that On and Muhammad were fighting side by side. They entered into the battlefield. Both of them were fighting like a single unit, and they became a manifestation of Surah Al-Zukhruf, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, where Surah Al-Zukhruf, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He loves those muqatilin, those who perform jihad in the way, and they are like a concrete wall. Go and refer back to Surah Al-Zukhruf. كَأَنَّهُمْ بُنْيَانٌ مَرْصُوص. These two boys of Sayyidah Zainab, On and Muhammad, the two sons of On and Muhammad, entered into the battlefield like a single unit. They attacked the right side and they disbanded it. They went into the left wing and they disbanded it. The hadith and the Maktal mentions that On and Muhammad side by side kept hinging forward, kept pushing forward until they reached the middle of the Maidan. When they reached the heart of the battlefield, Umar ibn Sa'ad said that in order for us, we cannot attack both of them together. So all of you focus your attack on On. So the narrations mention as On and Muhammad were fighting, all the enemies made On their target. So they began to attack On. Imam Sahib al-Amri wa Zaman in the Ziyar of the Shuhada of Karbala said says, Assalamu ala Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Ja'far at-Tayyar al-Shahidu fi makan abih Allah wa tali li akhi wal waqihi bi badanih. Imam al-Hujjah says that when all of them began to attack On, Muhammad began to protect On with his own body. Muhammad became the shield for his brother On. The Maktal mentions this one struck him with an arrow, this one struck him with a sword, this one struck him with a spear, but Muhammad continued to protect his brother and shield him with his own body. The Maktal mentions the brothers kept pushing forward deeper into the heart of the enemies. So Umar ibn Sa'ad said, we will not be able to kill the two brothers. The only thing we can do is separate between the two of them. So the army came in all their ranks. They separated between On and Muhammad. On one side of the battlefield, Muhammad on the other side of the battlefield. The narrations mention that the first one to become shaheed was On. They surrounded him from every direction, but two enemies came at the same time. They struck On the head with a sword. Allah, Allah, two swords and the head of one youth. On falls down to the ground and becomes shaheed. Muhammad is looking at the body of his dead brother. He keeps pushing forward. The narrations mention that Muhammad was so heavily surrounded. One of the enemies came and from on top struck Muhammad with a sword on the head. Allah, Allah, the strike was so severe. The strike was so severe. Do you know, if you were to go into the Maktal, you will find that almost all the shuhada, when they were struck, all the shuhada, when they were struck, they would cry out and they would say, Adrikni ya Imam, or they would say, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. But this Mal'un struck Muhammad so hard. Muhammad died without even giving salam. He fell to the earth and his ruh left the... Muhammad died without even giving salam. Allah, Allah. Oh, that Muhammad have become shaheed. This is the final part of the Masaib. Shiat Amir al-Mu'minin, Shiat Zainab. Allah, take your heart to the Khaymaga of Sayyida Zainab in Karbala. Take your heart to the Khaymaga, and it is as if you are sitting at the Khayma and you are looking at what is transpiring. Oh, that Muhammad have become shaheed. The Maktal mentions all the women gathered inside of the Khaymaga to weep for On and Muhammad. Layla is weeping, Rabab is weeping, Farwa is weeping, Sukaina and Ruqayya and Khawla, Safiya, all of them are in the tents. They are weeping for On and Muhammad. Imam al-Hussein comes in. He says, with the women that are weeping, where is Zainab? Zainab is not to be seen crying. The Maktal mentions that he went into the tent of Sayyida Zainab. Do you know why? Imam Hussein's concern was Zainab, my delicate Zainab. I hope, how is she with On and Muhammad's shahadat? The Maktal mentions when Imam al-Hussein entered into the tent, he saw Zainab doing sajda to shukr. Allah, Allah, I say, Ya Aba Abdullah, this delicate heart of Zainab. Do you know that at the time of Asr, on the day of Ashura, when Shimmer was kicking Imam al-Hussein on the chest, Imam al-Hussein turned towards the Khaymaga. He sees Zainab. He says, Zainab, go in. He knows Zainab is delicate. Zainab don't want Shimmer. He says, Zainab, go in. He knows Zainab is delicate. Zainab don't want Shimmer. ماتم يا حسين ماتم ون محمد يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين
Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. حي على خير العمل 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 يا حسين گھبرائی ہے زینب آیا ہے مدینہ گھبرائی ہے زینب آیا ہے مدینہ مل کے گھبرائی ہے زینب آیا ہے مدینہ گھبرائی ہے زینب آیا ہے مدینہ ہے گھبرائی ہے مدینہ لبریز ہے غم سے ہر بی بی کا سینہ گھبرائی ہے زینب آیا ہے مدینہ ہے حجروں میں جو جاؤں گی میں اونو محمد کے حجروں میں جو جاؤں گی میں اونو محمد کے اس دل کو رلائیں گے بچوں کے کھلونے دل شدت غم سے پھٹ جائے کہیں نہ گھبرائی ہے زینب آیا ہے مدینہ ہے گھبرائی ہے زینب جو ماتمی ہے مدینہ ہے گھبرائی ہے مدینہ ہے گھبرائی ہے زینب آیا ہے مدینہ ہے گھبرائی ہے زینب حجروں میں جو جاؤں گی میں اونو محمد کے اس دل کو رلائیں گے بچوں کے کھلونے دل شدت غم سے پھٹ جائے کہیں نہ دل شدت غم سے پھٹ جائے کہیں نہ گھبرائی ہے زینب آیا ہے مدینہ گھبرائی ہے زینب آیا ہے مدینہ ہے گھبرائی مدینہ ہے گھبرائی ہے گھبرائی ہے زینب اہل مدینہ تو خاموش ہی رہنا زینب سے خدا را تو ایک لفظ نہ کہنا جو سانسیں بچی ہے کھو دے گی حسینہ جو سانسیں بچی ہے کھو دے گی حسینہ گھبرائی ہے زینب آیا ہے مدینہ گھبرائی ہے زینب جیو ماتمی ماشاءاللہ. مدینہ ہے گھبرا آیا ہے مدینہ لبریز ہے غم سے ہر بی بی کا سینہ گھبرائی ہے مدینہ گھبرائی ہے زینب آیا ہر زخم سنا دے گا احوال سفر کا پھٹ جائے نہ دل اس کا جب دیکھے گی صغرا پیشانی سجاد اور سرخ پسینہ پیشانی سجاد اور سرخ پسینہ گھبرائی ہے زینب آیا ہے مدینہ گھبرائی ہے زینب یا ہے مدینہ ہے گھبرائی جیو ماتمی ماشاءاللہ مدینہ ہے گھبرائی ہے زینب کی خیالوں میں آواز یہ آئی محمل سے اتر کر جب فضا نے صدا دی دل تھام لو بی بی لو آیا مدینہ دل تھام لو بی بی لو آیا مدینہ گھبرائی ہے زینب آیا ہے مدینہ گھبرائی ہے زینب مدینہ بازار ہے پتھر ہیں زینب کا کھلا سر ہے بازار ہے پتھر ہیں زینب کا کھلا سر ہے مل کے پڑھے بازار ہے پتھر ہیں زینب کا کھلا سر ہے مل کے بازار ہے پتھر ہیں زینب کا کھلا سر ہے بازار ہے پتھر ہیں زینب کا کھلا سر ہے بازار ہے پتھر ہیں زینب کا کھلا سر ہے ہر زخم پہ شکرانہ ہر زخم پہ شکرانہ زینب کے لبوں پر ہے بازار ہے پتھر ہیں زینب کا کھلا سر ہے بازار ہے پتھر ہے بس دو تین اشعار ماتمی کی نظر کراؤ سب مل کپڑے ماشاءاللہ بلند آواز سے ماشاءاللہ بازار زینب کا کھلا سر ہے ایک گیری آئے خونی کی جاتی ہی نہیں لالی سجاد کی آنکھوں کو دیکھا ہی نہیں خالی یا خون ہے آنکھوں میں یا خون ہے آنکھوں میں یا شام کا منظر ہے بازار ہے پتھر ہیں زینب کا کھلا سر ہے بازار ہے پتھر ہیں زینب کا کھلا سر ہے بازار ہے جیو ماتمی ماشاءاللہ کا کھلا سر ہے بازار ہے سر ہے ٹکراتی ہے سر اپنا جائے تو کہاں جائے معصوم سکینہ کو غش آئے کہ موت آئے، اس کے لیے زندہ میں، اس کے لیے زندہ میں بس خاک کا بستر ہے، بازار ہے پتھر ہے، زینب کا کھلا سر ہے، بازار ہے پتھر ہے، زینب کا کھلا سر ہے، بازار ہے پتھر ہے، زینب کھلا سر ہے، بازار جیو ماتمی ماشاءاللہ کا کھلا سر ہے، بازار ہے سر ہے، ٹکراتی ہے سر اپنا، جائے تو کہاں جائے، ارے معصوم سکینہ کو غش آئے کہ موت آئے، اس کے لیے زندہ میں بس خاک کا بستر ہے، اور لے شام غریباں سے پرہول بیاباں تک، بازار سے کوفہ تک، دربار سے زندہ تک، بے رحم تماچے، بے رحم تماچے ہیں، اور شاہ کی دختر ہے، لے شاہ میں غریباں سے پرہول بیاباں تک، بازار سے کوفہ تک، زندان سے دربار تک، بے رحم تماچے ہیں، بے رحم تماچے ہیں، اور شاہ کی دختر ہے، بازار ہے پتھر ہے، زینب کا کھلا سر ہے، بازار ہے پتھر ہے، زینب کا کھلا سر ہے، بازار ہے پتھر ہے۔ الوداع مصرع پیش کرو ماتمی ہے، یہ شور بکا کیا ہے، ماتم کی صدا کیا ہے، توحید بچائے جو وہ کرب و بلا کیا ہے، یا ہے سر سرور یا ہے سر سرور یا زینب تیری چادر ہے، یا ہے سر سرور یا ہے سر سرور یا زینب تیری چادر ہے، بازار ہے پتھر ہے، زینب کا کھلا سر ہے، یا حسین یا حسین، زینب کا کھلا سر ہے، یا حسین۔
أراك بحيرة ملأتك رينا، فشتتك الهوى بينا وبينا، إذا شئت النجاة فزر حسينا، لكي تلقى الإله قرير عيني، لكي تلقى الإله قرير عيني. All together السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين. الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين حسين يا حسين حسين يا حسين حسين يا حسين حسين يا حسين. I know that the musibah of Aoun and Muhammad breaks you. And Sheikh, you really broke our hearts today with the musibah. But you also spoke about courage. And if you are looking for courage, then look no further than Aoun and Muhammad. As they face their enemies, 2 lions, 2 wolves, 10, 11 years old, they taught us what is the definition of courage. As if they are saying, I am Aoun, brother of Muhammad, sons of Zainab. I am Aoun, brother of Muhammad, sons of Zainab. In our veins the blood of he who defeated Marhab. We will turn their day into their night. They will learn from us how they should fight. We will turn their day into their night. They will learn from us how they should fight. Organize your lines, Shabab, and Sallu ala Muhammadin wa Ali Muhammad. Inshallah, if you know the words, you can help me with your jawab. I am Aoun, brother of Muhammad, sons of Zainab. In our veins the blood of he who defeated Marhab. I am Aoun, brother of Muhammad, sons of Zainab. In our veins the blood of he who defeated Marhab. We will turn their day into their night. They will learn from us how they should fight. We will turn their day into their night. They will learn from us how they should fight. I am Aoun, brother. Turn their day into their night. They will learn from us how they should fight. I am Aoun, brother of Muhammad, sons of Zainab. I am Aoun, brother of Muhammad, sons of Zainab. In our vein the blood of he who defeated Marhab. We will turn their day into their night. They will learn from us how they should fight. We will turn their day into their night. They will learn from us how they should fight. The morning broke, no one spoke except when Hussein gave them permission. Except the morning broke, no one spoke except when Hussein gave them permission. Except when Hussein gave them permission. The morning broke, no one spoke except when Hussein gave them permission. Permission, this is that time, stand in line. Every one of them knew his position. Every and he prepared them saying, listen. He prepared them saying, listen, aim for the army's back row. Give your chest to the heavens when you see the raining arrows. It is only a few minutes of playing sword with our foe. Then you will be somewhere that rivers beneath you, they will flow. Then you will be somewhere that rivers beneath you, they will beneath them. Only blood will flow, uncle, beneath them, beneath them. Only blood will flow, uncle, beneath them. We don't want heaven and we don't fear from Jahannam, but the way they hold their swords isn't right. We should teach these men how they should fight. I am own brother of Muhammad, son of Zainab. In our veins the blood of he who Marhab we will turn. Then they will learn from us how they should fight. We will turn their day into their night. They will learn from us how they should fight. The morning broke, no one spoke except when Hussein gave them permission. Except when Hussein gave them permission. This is that time, stand in line. Every one of them knew his position. Every one of them knew his position. He prepared them saying, listen, aim for the army's back row. Give your chest to the heaven when you see the raining arrows. It is only a few minutes of playing sword with our foe. Then you will be somewhere that rivers beneath you, they will flow. Then you will be somewhere that rivers beneath you, they will flow. Beneath them only blood will flow, uncle, beneath them. We don't want heaven and we don't fear from Jahannam, but the way they hold their swords isn't right. We should teach these men how they should fight. I am own brother of Muhammad. Raise your hands. I am own brother of Muhammad, sons of Zainab. In our veins the blood of him. Hab we will turn their day into their night. They will learn from us how they should fight. We will turn their day into their night. They will learn should fight. They saw two, they thought few. How wrong were they when they saw them battle? How wrong were they when they saw them battle? Their surprise in their eyes, two wolves rounding up a herd of cattle. Two wolves rounding up a herd of cattle. And in the world of a wolf you die fighting for one another. In the world of a wolf you die fighting for one another. What if Hussein is your uncle and Zainab is your mother? What if Hussein is your uncle and Zainab is your mother? What if Hussein is your uncle and Zainab is your mother? In the world of a wolf you die fighting for one another. What if Hussein is your uncle and Zainab is your mother? First the enemy ran to them, then they all ran for cover. Lions don't concern themselves with all the sheep if they gather. Lions don't concern themselves with all the sheep if they gather. But the laws of gravity, they cannot be denied. To their Lord these young men were gravitating with pride. But before leaving, let's be polite. We should teach these men how they should fight. I am own brother of Muhammad, sons of Zainab. I think they deserve a better jawab, Shabab. I think the ones who gave their heads for you deserve a better jawab. And I think for honoring Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam, she deserves a better answer from you. I am own brother of Muhammad, sons of Zainab. Defeated Marhab, we will turn their day into their night, they will learn. Should fight, we will turn their night, they will learn. From us how they should fight. The hour drew, and who knew? A lion is a lion, however old. A lion is a lion, however old. The hour drew, and who knew? A lion is a lion, however old. A lion is a lion, however old. Their display on that day, they put in the word soldiers their soul. They put in the word soldiers their souls. Sacrificing her children, don't you ever think was easy. Sacrificing her children, don't you ever think was easy. She said, if this pleases you, Lord, then take on till you are pleased. She said, if this pleases you, Lord, then take on till you are pleased. Broken-hearted feelings, they mix with feeling serenity. Broken-hearted feelings, they mix with feeling serenity. The enemy saw death bitter, all she saw was beauty. The enemy saw death bitter, all she saw was heaven is under the feet of your mothers, they say. Heaven is under the feet of your mothers, they say. Zainab was an angel standing in heaven on that day. Heaven is under the feet of your mothers, they say. Zainab was an angel standing in heaven on that day. What she saw, beauty in her eyesight, her young boys teaching men how to fight. I am a brother of Muhammad, sons of Zainab, in our veins. Marhab, we will turn their day into their night, they will learn. Should fight, we will turn their night, they will learn. Should find the hour drew, and who knew? A lion is a lion, however old. A lion is a lion, however old. Their display on that day, they put in the word soldiers their souls. They put in the word soldiers their soul. Sacrificing her children, don't you ever think was easy. She said, if this pleases you, Lord, then take on till you are pleased. Broken-hearted feelings, they mix with feeling serenity. The enemy saw death bitter, all she saw was beauty. The enemy saw death bitter, all she saw was beauty. Heaven is under the feet of your mothers, they say. Zainab was an angel standing in heaven on that day. What she saw, beauty in her eyesight, her young boys teaching men how to fight. I am own brother of Muhammad, sons of Zainab. He who defeated Marhab, we will turn their day into their night, they will learn. From us how they should fight, we will turn their day into their night, they will learn. From us how, come aid me, Hussein, Hussein, come aid me. Come aid me, Hussein, come aid me, Hussein, Hussein. Ya Hussein, and if my 2 feet fail me, come aid me, Hussein, Hussein, come aid me. Ya Hussein, and if my 2 feet fail me, come aid me, Shabab, come aid me, say, Ya Hussein, and if my 2 feet fail me, if my eye were not to mourn you, save me. Majnoonak, say, مجنونم say سلطاني قرآني مجنونم say I'm crazy say مجنونم say come aid me say Ya Hussein, and if my 2 feet fail me say if my eye were not to mourn you save me say if they fail to walk at all say you did then I will crawl and my tear had better fall come aid me I'm crazy say I'm crazy in your loving it's the way you raise me Hussein crazy say مجنونك say مدرسة أبو صلت مجنونك say مجنونك say مدرسة أبو صلت مجنونك say يا ملاك تحيرت بعيونك say خدمتك من الصغر هافي يمشي للقبر والله ما يسوى العمر من دونك I'm crazy say I'm crazy say in your loving it's the way you raise me say and no medicine will heal or change me say it's the way I want to stay a lunatic for Hussein no one can control the rain I'm crazy so leave me say so leave me say so leave me say let the tear flow for Hussein and leave me Hussein let the blood rain for Hussein and bleed free Let the heavens ache and I cry until they are dry and stop asking all your whys and leave me. When near you say, inshallah, when near you say, when near you say, if you hear me, can you let me hear you? Hussein, when near you say, if you hear me, can you make me hear you? Hussein, I am walking up to your shrine tearful. Say, let them call me what they call when for you my tears they fall. Zainab is catching them all and counting my reason, say, my day and my night and my 4 seasons, say, my reasons, say, my day and my night and my 4 seasons, say, my blood and heart and the air I breathe in, say, my spirit, you are my soul, say you do, you are my goal, say you do, you are my all, my reason. They told me, life would be full of pain, but only they told me life would be full of pain, but only Abba Abdullah's love consoles me. Say, and you overpower and control me. Hey, say, I am in your holy hand, submitting to your command. And when I enter your land, console me. Ya Abul Fadl, لو صحت تهز السماوات. يا أبا الفضل لو صحت تهز السماوات. يا أبا الفضل لو صحت تبقى محنة هيهات. يا أبا الفضل يا أبا الفضل يا أبا الفضل say مجنونك say مجنونك say مجنونك أظل مجنونك say مجنونك أظل مجنونك أنا ما أقدر أعيش بدونك يا أبا الفضل when I call you I am pleasing الحسين يا أبا الفضل when I call you I am pleasing الحسين يا أبا الفضل you're the pride of فاطمة أم البنين يا أبا الفضل صيح يا أبا الفضل يا أبا الفضل سن عين الله سن عين الله سن وجه الله سن عين الله سن وجه الله سن عين الله سن وجه الله ألا فقدك ظهره ألا فقدك ظهره انكسر وويله كسر وويله يا أبا الفضل with no hand you hit the floor without your sight يا أبا with no hand you hit the floor without your sight يا أبا الفضل take my eyes and take my left and take my right يا أبا الفضل يا أبا الفضل saying I'm crazy saying I'm crazy they call me crazy saying I'm crazy if they call me crazy say مجنونك let them call me crazy for your love Mawla for your love Mawla Sakina raise me Ya Abba al-Fadl with no hand you hit the floor without your sight Ya Abba take my eyes and take my left and take my right Ya Abba al-Fadl يا أبا الفضل say مجنونك أظل مجنونك أنا ما أعيش بدونك أعيش بدونك يا أبا الفضل. When I call you with me all the angels sing يا أبا الفضل. When I call you with me all the angels sing يا أبا الفضل. When you lost your hand the angels lost their wing يا أبا الفضل. يا أبا الفضل يا أبا الفضل يا أبا الفضل يا أبا الفضل يا زينب 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 يا زينب. والله وين الغيور اللي يوقف على حدودك، وين الغيور اللي يوقف على حدودك، حرمة وغريبة ولا يديولونك، بس ابو فاضل بيتقر عيونك، شفت الغذايف طاحن علمتونك يا زينب يا زينب يا زينب يا زينب. توجهوا إلى الدعاء. May Allah accept your azaa. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
دعاء الحجة شباب. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كل وليك صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه فيها